Welcome, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. I am Zarlin, and this is LoLverview, where I take an overview look at LoL mechanics and give it a stupid title. Today, we're looking at two items that have been introduced in the Season 3 item update, and one item that's been changed for the Season 3 item update. We're looking at Tiamat, Ravenous Hydra, and RUNAAN'S Hurricane. Mostly Tiamat and RUNAAN'S Hurricane, because Ravenous Hydra doesn't really change anything with the Tiamat structure. It just adds lifesteal to it. Makes it a bit stronger, but, you know. Anyways, these two items have some unique little quirks to them that I find quite interesting, and hopefully you will too. And we're going to go over all of them that I can think of in this, however long this video is. First off, I want to look at some specific champions that kind of go against the descriptions that the Ravenous Hydra and RUNAAN'S Hurricane give. Mostly the fact that the RUNAAN'S Hurricane says ranged only, and Tiamat/Ravenous Hydra say melee only. Instead of my normal way of doing LoLverview that I've done for the 2 episodes I've done, I don't remember. I'm not going to be putting random pictures up on the screen. I actually have some video that I went and did some custom games to get. Now, I've got some footage of a couple of champions, which you should be seeing on the screen now. Jace and Nidalee and Kayle are 3 champions that don't follow the typical this champion is ranged or this champion is only melee. Elise falls into that category too, but it's not that essential. She falls into the same category as Nidalee and Jace, and I figured if it followed the same principles as those two, the same thing would happen to her that happened to those two. And Kayle is kind of on her own, and we'll talk about her in a little bit. First off, if you've been seeing in the background, Jace and Nidalee both have their special forms that they switch in and out of. And with Jace, you can buy both Tiamat and RUNAAN'S Hurricane, which also means you can buy Ravenous Hydra, because you are considered both a melee and a ranged champion. But, instead of being able to use them throughout the entire game, like other champions can, because they are ranged 100% of the time, or melee 100% of the time, you only get the benefit of Tiamat while in your melee stance, and you only get the benefit of RUNAAN'S Hurricane while in your cannon stance or in your range stance, whatever. So, Nidalee in human form gets RUNAAN'S, and Jace in cannon form gets RUNAAN'S. If I could speak correctly while I'm doing this, that'd be wonderful. Anyways, and then while Nidalee is in cat form, she gets the benefit of Tiamat, and while Jace is in hammer form, he gets the benefit of Tiamat. And I find this quite interesting simply because they thought ahead and made sure that you couldn't break the system with these champions, which is good on Riot's part. Now, a very interesting thing is I tried it on Kayle, and I thought nothing really of it. And then I switched on her E while I had RUNAAN'S, and the splash damage was coming off of all 3 targets. Which, yes, it's deducted by 30%, but that is still extremely strong, especially on the first target. That is an extremely strong effect, and it's not to be taken lightly. It can push lanes extremely fast. It does immense damage in... It would do immense damage in teamfights, I'm guessing. I have not done it in a teamfight, mostly because I don't play Kayle much. But it is quite an interesting effect that it actually does take that into consideration and actually uses the splash damage from her E with RUNAAN'S Hurricane, which I think it shouldn't be rushed, but RUNAAN'S Hurricane on Kayle could actually be a very good item. Now, I've also done some other tests with just RUNAAN'S Hurricane and just Tiamat on a lot of other champions because they can't buy both of them. But one thing I really found interesting, the others work pretty much exactly the same as you think they would, but one of the things I found extremely interesting is Twitch applies his poison with the RUNAAN'S Hurricane, but his ultimate does not get the benefit of RUNAAN'S Hurricane. So he gets a lot of benefit from RUNAAN'S Hurricane, but his ultimate does not. His ultimate will still shoot off 2 parts when he shoots with his ultimate on, but those 2 parts will not gain the benefit of the ultimate. They will not go through the enemies that they hit and hit the ones behind them. So you only get the one regular auto attack that's going through the entire enemy. The rest of them are just, you know, kind of just hitting 2 close enemies. So technically, yes, it's still quite beneficial to him, but his ultimate gains absolutely no benefit from it whatsoever. And so it's not great on that aspect, but it is quite good overall. Vayne also works very interestingly with RUNAAN'S. Because Vayne can only have silver bolts on 1 target, and if you buy RUNAAN'S, it attacks 3 people. Your silver bolts will only go onto the first target that gets hit, which will most likely be your primary auto attack. So, Vayne, it's not exactly a very good item. But, luckily, like I said, Riot was smart enough that they didn't make it so RUNAAN'S completely broke Vayne if you bought it. And it was like, because they could have easily just not thought about it and, oh, it puts silver bolts on all 3 targets, but it can only be on 1 target at a time, so it just kind of nullifies the whole silver bolts thing, making Vayne completely useless and a troll pick, really, if, say you didn't want to go AD carry, but you went AD carry anyways as Vayne, and then picked RUNAAN'S up just to troll the crap out of your team. So, since they fixed that, and it doesn't work that way, it's not a good item on Vayne, really, but it doesn't completely break her like I thought it might have. So, good on you, Riot. And that's really all I can think of for the experiments. I've tried it on multiple characters, both Tiamat and RUNAAN'S and Ravenous Hydra. But Ravenous Hydra, as I said, doesn't really change much from Tiamat. So there are a lot of champions that work quite well with it. Of course, a lot of people know that Gangplank works quite well with Tiamat and Ravenous Hydra. I even have a video up somewhere on my channel. You might want to look for that if you want to see a pretty good AoE Gangplank guide. Anyways, but it's actually quite a great idea to get it on a couple of champions that you might not think it would be good on. But then again, it's some champions that you might want to experiment with will probably not do so well getting them on anyways. So those are some tips and tricks for RUNAAN'S Hurricane and Tiamat / Ravenous Hydra. Thank you for watching, and good night.